Welcome to the Road Show, and we have one of our favorite people on today, our pal Jay Turkbas from Sheffield Watches. Now, if you're a listener of the steering committee, pour one out, you know that we had Jay on a couple of times, and he's become a friend and a collaborator, but a lot has happened in that time too. Jay continues to release new Sheffield watch models regularly, selling out new releases in hours. Due in no small part to Jay's association with shows like Spike's Car Radio, Sheffield watches have become real signifiers of automotive enthusiasm. Car code, if you will, and when you see a Sheffield watch on another wrist at a Cars and Coffee or at Car Week, you give the other guy or gal a knowing glance, or if you're like us, you stick your wrists in a circle and take a picture for Instagram. But Jay's watches really have gained a foothold among the horology crowd as well, which is proof that you'd be hard-pressed to find a better, more attractive watch for the money. So I'm starting to think that everything this guy touches turns to gold, Alan, which is why I'm happy to have him on the Road Show. Good to see you, Jay.
Well, it's nice to be here, and thank you very much, and you're too kind. I think I've been very fortunate, and I probably released too many watches from a strategic standpoint, but I'm just having too much fun going back to the Sheffield history and recreating a lot of the interesting designs and dials and case sizes that were in the 60s in the dive watch segment, and then even going beyond that. So it's been very, very, it's been a lot of activity. So I'm trying to get a little bit calming here in the next few months, not having as many drops as I've had the last 6 months.
Hey Jay, though you're an incredibly busy guy. Like, anyone who follows you on social media just sees you popping up in. I wake up in the morning and I see a post, and you're in an Asian country somewhere. Then the next day you seem to be in London. And a week later you're back in the US, and it's like, is he like just drip feeding these out? But this is how hard you're working. And you have different models coming out, and then they sell out straight away. I've gone to order several, like the Union Jack badged version, and boom, gone. So I have to, and in fact, going back to something you said before about remaking old models. Obviously, I've got my 24 here, and it's a 1966 24. So,
oh my gosh,
so I
yes.
thought I'd go and
cool?
get a pair, and it's and it works as well.
Where did you get that? That's fantastic.
Yeah, from a guy online. I had to haggle for a bit. He wanted quite a bit of coin, but when you negotiate with an Aussie, you're in for a wild ride. So
There's a large knife involved, apparently. But
yeah,
that is so cool. That is so cool because I don't have one. I could only work off of photos.
yeah,
And
I can rent it to you if you want. That's fine. So I'm always up for a deal. Call me Eddie Jordan. Eddie Jordan Jr. I'm always up
well,
for a
the
deal.
next time I'm in London, I'll have to come and just hold it and feel it out because I've been buying more old Sheffields now, and I have some that we haven't developed or finished yet that will drop. Like I said, I'm trying to spread these out a little bit, but it's an amazing range of designs from that era that, very creative across not just the Sheffield brand, but there was a lot of really interesting designs in that era of dive watches. There was a plethora of brands, and some were similar, but they kind of have that distinct kind of angular edge to them that the 60s design sense, kind of the modern look to it. If you think about architecture, if you think about furniture, there was a lot of angularity, and
Yep.
so and I just think that there's a wealth of fun there that it's great to be able to go back and get inspiration from that instead of just doing, this will be a cool watch. I mean, there's just so much to draw from.
And
Jay, can you go-
also, sorry, I was going to say, just jumping back into cars for a second, that whole style is also coming back in the car scene as well. So we saw it Car Week this year. The wedge cars. It's there's a cool design language that is resurging. So
well,
your
you see
timing's perfect.
what's interesting is you see a lot of that on the interiors too.
yeah,
The digital dashboards are now very horizontal, and if you think about cars of that era, they were like my dad had a 62 Chevy Impala, and there was just this
Mm,
this horizontal dashboard all the way through, and you didn't have this. There was just a lot of. It was just very interesting time, and
yeah.
I think you're right. Design, goes through these cycles, and we're lucky actually because things change, which is good.
Jay, tell us a little bit about the Sheffield story and your path and your introduction to the brand. I think you were 13 when you got it was a middle school graduation gift from your dad.
No, I was even younger. I mean, I was about 11,
Okay.
and it was in 69, 70, and uh, I I love swimming and I love watching sea hunt,
Mm,
and I could peek around I did actually, you couldn't watch James Bond unless you went to a theater, so I really didn't have much other than just reading about it, but I just loved the idea of dive watch, and all of a sudden on a birthday my parents gave me this Sheffield dive watch, this classic, black dial, rotating bezel, um, glows at night with lume with the Tropic
tritium.
band, and
Oh,
yeah, it was probably
the
tritium back
radioactive
then.
stuff.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
And so it was a small one. It was only like a 35 or 34, but it was something I wore till I broke it practically. I mean, I still have it. Obviously, I showed it on the website, but it began kind of I wouldn't call it a journey, but just my overall interest in watches over the years. And I think when I graduated from high school, I got a Bulova 666 dive watch that I still have that, but which has a very similar case design, and it's a lot of orange on it, exactly what you just showed, Alan, from the original case on the 24 watch. And so that was in the 70s, but from that point on, when I went through college and then early on in my career, when I got married, we bought a lot of Swatch watches. I still have
Yeah.
all of those, and it's just it doesn't matter if it's expensive or if they're inexpensive. It's all about what's interesting, And I've always felt that even though my wife has been great, she's gotten and given me a number of really wonderful, expensive watches like a Rolex or a Monaco and stuff like that. But it, I still have my Casios and my G-Shocks and my Swatches, and I just think that it's all about kind of this little machine that has all these intricate parts in it, whether it's an automatic or it's quartz. And this is, now we're so digital now, which is really, high tech as well. But it's just kind of amazing how a watch works and
Mm.
all the parts and pieces and how they work together, and how, especially with a dive watch that, is waterproof or water resistant to 200 meters or even deeper, how they last, if they're built right. And that was kind of what happened here in the, about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I just felt like, I've always, I've got the sources and the ability to source this kind of product because I do a lot of product development for a wide range of products over the years. And so I didn't have any fear about finding a manufacturer and then vetting them and testing them and, uh, you know, creating what you find today. And so the initial stage was just, um, you just kind of go do it. I'm very lucky that I have the freedom to be able to do it. So, so that's kind of the gestation when my folks, gifted me that watch, and it just started, I guess. Who would have thought, 50 years ago that today I'd be doing this? But
Yeah.
I think it's a cool
I'm.
story. If we also look at your life, like you're a car enthusiast, you got a couple of cars in the garage as well, and we'll
Mhm.
get onto that in a sec. But I think what Ryan said in the intro, the brand Sheffield is becoming like the car enthusiast, watch. And I've seen a couple of people, at car events who wear them. I'm like, oh, you've got one, and then they start talking to me about what model it is and what other ones they have and why they bought it, and so it is really, it's
It,
carrying a great reputation. But for people who like quality, and car inspired, products as well. So
well, I'm flattered, and actually, what's really cool about I communicate with a number of the customers that have bought multiple watches. I'm just like blown away. Sometimes I see their names like constantly, and I just go, wow, they're buying another one. I can't believe it. It's so cool. But a lot of these guys and women, they have a valuable watch collection, far greater in cost than what a Sheffield is, and the fact that it can pair well with that kind of a collection or outlook from people, especially those that are in the car world that have some pretty nice pieces. It makes you feel really good about what the objective, I had, in the sense that I was looking to create a really high value watch with um, high spec at a price that was very closer to the same adjusted for inflation that you would have spent in the 60s or 70s for that watch. And that premise, I think, was something that created a lot of, I wouldn't call it wow factor, but it's like, whoa, this is a great deal for this watch. And that was my objective, in the sense that there was a lot of quality and a lot of function and design in the watch for far less than comparable watches that are available out there. Now, I'm not saying it's like a Rolex, but look at Seiko's and some other micro brands. I think it punches above its weight, most of these watches, for what the price is. So I'm going to try keep doing that as long as I possibly can.
Was the car thing part of this from the get go? I know Jerry Seinfeld played a part in sort of getting the car community involved. Can you talk about that a little bit, or
Yeah,
is that?
well, it's an interesting. Once again, I always say I'm a very lucky guy. I'm very fortunate. When I was just about finished with the the final product that was ready to have it shipped for my initial, and I had the website ready to go and everything, I was listening to an episode of Spike's Car Radio, and I think it was driving back from Colorado to Park City, and uh, at the end of they had just interviewed, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he has a U.S. watch company that makes every component in the United States, which is admirable. But it's like a $30,000 or $40,000 watch. It's very unique. And at the end of the show, he goes, "That's fantastic." He says, "But it'd be nice, or it'd be cool, if somebody could make a really great watch for 200 or under." And I went, "Oh, wow, okay." So I said, because I love cars, I've been listening to Spike's Car Radio and other podcasts. So I DM'd him and said, "Hey, actually, I'm doing that." And I gave him the link to the website, and I said, I'm gonna start selling these pretty soon, but I'm doing that. And I said, I'm gonna send 4 watches to Paul Zuckerman's law office, because I know I can get his address, but I know you don't want to give me your address, because nobody should do that, out of the blue, where he lives. And so I did, and all of a sudden I get this note back a week later. "We love this. I can't wait to talk about these watches
Awesome.
on the show." And and soon after, then they raffled one off, and then there was a comment from Jerry on one of the posts, and he goes, "I had a Sheffield underwater watch in like 1966. I bought
no
one," and all
way.
of a sudden that was one more lucky thing. And then last year at the car week, they had the show there, and they started talking about Sheffield again, and Jerry mentioned that he had one. And he's not a big watch guy, actually. He doesn't wear a lot of watches. He's said that before, but this kind of resonated with him. But he's never really gone out there and endorsed it. He's just been very nice to say these are cool, and that's what I used to have.
But
So
it's a genuine statement. It's a genuine
Yeah.
story, and
yeah.
that's what people, want to hear. They don't want to hear
Hmm.
fake,
Yeah.
PR.
Yeah. I mean, so there's a lot of serendipitous good fortune here. There's plenty of folks that have great product that don't get a break like that, that
Mm.
don't get the chance,
Yeah.
like I have talking to you folks, to you, Ryan, earlier.
Well,
And, it's, I mean, I do think, though, that having that car love, especially Porsche, really helped because it's a unique crowd. The watch crowd there's a definite watch crowd that aren't car people, and then there's car people who are not watch people, but then there's car people who are watch people, and there's some watch
yeah.
people that turn into cars. So you kind of get this intersection,
Yeah.
and I've got some pretty nice older Porsches that I featured early in the, talking about those cars um, in the on the website as well as in posts. I don't overdo it, but now I still I went to Car Week. I posted from there, met some great people, um, met you, Alan.
Yeah.
It's been a very very fun kind of growth of connections and interest in that community, and I'm really happy that it is because I love that car community. I love especially Porsches, and
Yeah.
um, it's been pretty neat, very neat.
You keep saying luck, but you make your own luck.
You work incredibly hard.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
that's
well, I mean, I make good decisions, in terms of um, the the premise around the product, the integrity of the product. But if they weren't very good looking, if they didn't have a story behind them, if I like you said that earlier, if you make up something, like if you want to be a homage to the cars and the racers of the '60s, well, that's been done.
Mhm.
There's plenty of that. Um, it's hard to find the niche that actually resonates. That I have an authentic story about how I came into it. Happened to be this brand. They happened to go out of business in the '70s. The trademark was available, and I capitalized on that. And I have a wealth. It's like Adidas has classics that they keep like the
Recycling.
Gazelle
Yeah.
or the Stan
Mhm.
Smith. I
Mhm.
mean, there's these variations of the theme, and I have an amazing um, treasure trove of possibility. Not only that, but then I wanted to do the lower cost QL1 with the pilot tilt to it. I thought, we need a fun watch, even that's colorful, that matches those Porsche colors from the '60s and '70s, and that's where that started. And those have been very, very fun and popular, and I'm going to continue to do those. Um, every spring or sometime before summer, so that always have kind of a new, fresh, fun, colorful watch. Maybe even at a higher price point.
Hmm.
And so that's your
But
sort of target release dates, is it for different seasons or
yeah,
what's
well,
that?
for that, that's a good, it's like holiday, spring.
Yeah.
That's when you take your car out of excuse me, your car's out of storage, and you're hitting the road, and it's just a nice fun watch to have with a little bit of a story behind it in terms of the way it's designed. I'm looking at doing a little bit some variations of that next year, but um, I'm trying to keep that at a very reasonable price too. And but what's really interesting I've seen with that watch, it's a $50 price point, and it's got the great
Mhm.
quartz movement in it, a Seiko quartz movement. But what's interesting is people are putting really nice straps on that watch
Yeah,
that are more expensive than the watch, and they look fantastic.
they really
So,
do.
This is where
oh, there you go. Your
Look at this
Montrose,
guy.
yeah,
yeah.
definitely, yeah, and you have your Montrose
I
and
got burgundy that matches the seatbelts in my car. I've got white for the race car and red just because you never know whether a Ferrari might turn up. So
yeah, there you go, there you
so
go. Well, there's some pretty, that's right. There's the seatbelts and the GTs. There's
Yeah.
red, there's yellow, and the yellow watch was a special watch um, for Nicole.
Yeah.
who we all know, and Jay, and I was just moved by how strong she was and how strong they were going through so much. Um, I mean, it's very brave that they laid that out there for everybody to
Yeah.
understand how
Totally.
what they were going through, and so that was just and I'm never gonna sell that color unless it has some relationship to supporting that Jay's and the autoimmune uh, foundation that they were financing as well, or funding as well. So, but that was I've never met them personally, and I really hope someday I wish I could have, but I'll meet Jay sometime, I'm sure, when I'm in
Yeah,
California.
it was a really touching story, and like you say, they definitely put it out there. And to see some of his posts, you sit there and you go, well, I'm just not going to complain about my life anymore. So, we've all got it really good. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
sobering thought.
yeah, very much. But so that's and that's talk about deep diving into the car community. Um, that's just one other aspect of being able to just contribute to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Meant a lot to me.
Hey, we saw you at Car Week and your lovely
yeah.
wife at the Porsche party, the one with the scallops, as we all
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
What a week! What a party!
Yeah, yeah.
That
What were
was. I
some?
mean, that was cool. Yeah, it was
It
cool.
really was, right? I
Yeah.
kind of felt like
Mm-hmm.
everyone who was everyone was there. It was pretty cool. Not quite sure how we
Yeah.
snuck in, but it was fun just the same. And but you've done Car Week before. This was my first Car Week. Alan, I can't remember. Was this your first?
It's my
This was
first
your
one as
first Car Week.
well. Yeah,
It's
So
my first car week. My first
really.
car week too. Yeah.
really, mind blown though, right? I mean, it was incredible. It was an incredible week.
Yeah.
And what were
Yeah.
some of your
Yeah.
takeaways as a
Well,
first timer?
here's the thing. I don't know if I'd go back unless I could rappel out of a helicopter, because the
That's
traffic getting around,
oh
man,
man.
it was tough. Now, if you were in the right hotel and
Mm,
had a your circle of access was narrower than mine, or smaller than mine, maybe it would be more interesting. I mean, it was awesome. It was really fun, and I definitely would love to go back. To the quail was very cool. The food was
yeah.
excellent in all the
Yeah, it really was,
divisions,
wasn't
I
it?
must
Yeah.
say. And it's almost like sensory overload, though. I went
Yeah.
to
It was.
the works, and I thought, Luftgekult is incredibly much overwhelming as well, and so was Air and Water this summer.
Yeah.
And but there's a different spin at Car Week, because there's every era brand. I love old Range Rovers, Land Rovers, so that
Hmm.
was very fun to see that. Those revisions, or the um, restorations of those
Yeah.
old Defenders. I mean, no, I was it was very fun, and just the party, the Porsche party was very fun to be able to go to that.
Yeah.
And no, I left pretty early, so we left pretty early, so I didn't stay that long, but
Yeah.
it was pretty neat.
Yeah. It was neat that we got to see you both. So it was, but yeah,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was a hell of a
it's a
come down.
connection place. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you guys stayed longer too. You did
Oh, man.
that Authentics race. I mean, the race,
The
the calling of
historics.
the
Yeah.
historics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Alan did most of the talking. Thank God. But that
Oh,
was a
yeah.
lot
The
of fun.
commentary. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the most people we've ever had listening to us at once by a long shot, right? As it was being broadcast live. But you don't say no to something like that.
33,000 people.
How many?
Was it 33,000 people
So,
on the live
I'll
stream?
take it. That's about
Yeah.
oh, man.
32,000 more than we're
Yeah.
used
Well,
to. So
you deserve it. You deserve that. No, I think
that was
that's
a
great. I
blast.
mean, um, yeah, gosh, I mean, it was incredible the amount of I mean, the thing is, everybody that was coming in to visit, and with their own cars, as well as the cars that were on display, they're all so pristine. I mean, there was just an amazing amount of
Yeah.
wonderful cars. And when you think about the Porsche side, I don't remember what the statistic is, but is it like or 68% or 70% of all Porsches made are still running
Yeah, I
or
think that's
something like,
right. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I was interested in looking at, like I have a couple 80s eras 911s and so I always kind of compare the condition of mine to, and I'm very confident that I would not have been admitted to works with my cars. So maybe one, but no, there's some fantastic cars there. I talked to one
Yeah.
gentleman that he's had his God, it was a '79 SC, but it was mint, and
Mm.
he's had it for like 30 years, and he's only put 15,000 miles on it total, but it's just he gave me some tips on different things that I could do with mine, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
happy to
yeah,
meet him.
yeah, yeah. No, we think we're Porsche fanboys, and then you go to something like that, and you realize that no, you're still like in the bell curve,
Mm.
right? Like it's so. Can I ask? So when you go to an event like that, do you get recognized yet, Jay? Because I mean,
No,
you're a
no,
no.
no, no,
You,
no.
what if you had
Nobody
a
knows what I look
Sheffield
like.
T-shirt on or something? Like, I just
Yeah,
I think it's only a matter of
yeah,
time.
yeah. Well, that's cool, but it's never been about that for me.
No.
I mean, I always think about, I I would like to do Sheffield sunglasses because I know how to
Ah,
do that. I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. What era, what's a universal frame type that everybody could wear, men and women, and so
yeah,
that's one thought I had. But that's the part of the discipline of not getting off track.
yeah, yeah,
Stay
Spreading
focused on
yourself too
what,
thin. Yeah.
yeah. So, but in terms of recognition, no, other than the shot of me today on this, or you and I talking, but
sure.
the website, that's a pretty nondescript black and white photo, so
Yeah, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
fine. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Well, yeah.
But
Keep it.
we'll get a T-shirt done
That's
and a baseball cap sometime, I think.
right, right. And I'm intrigued about the
Yeah.
sunglasses. This is a roadshow exclusive. If you ever decide to do
Oh,
that, I'm sure they'll be amazing. So excited about
Actually,
that.
talking about
actually,
sunglasses.
there'll be the way it'd work. There'll be like comparable to $150 sunglass for $75.
Well,
That'd be
that's what we need.
Yeah, that's
or
what we
eighty
need. We
dollars
need
or
the different
99 or something. But
Yeah,
you can have different
but
styles in the car. You can leave them in
yeah,
different cars and
yeah,
whatever. I did actually. I bought a set of Ray-Ban Metas after Car Week because the one that has the camera in
yeah,
it,
yeah,
oh
and
yeah,
game changer. I
yeah,
thought it's going
yeah.
to be really weird. It's going to be creepy, but there was so much going on that you think, I pull your phone out, take a photo, record.
Right, right,
They're so easy to use.
right.
Honestly, I use them every day. Obviously not at work. I'm just going to say that
yeah,
now.
yeah.
But yeah, so
Well, I have both, very small uh, oval titanium wire frames that are very. I have progressives, so
Mm,
I have to have enough on the lens to see. But I just got these Wayfarers because I like Ray-Bans a lot.
yeah,
yeah,
And you're right, the Wayfarer style is kind of what they embedded the camera in, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Jay, I just have one request. No matter what you do, follow the lead of Gooder Sunglasses and have a larger size frame for people with big pumpkins like me, because otherwise it's just not working. It's just not
Yeah,
happening.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, I
yeah.
hear you.
it's,
You need
as my
a
daughter
you
would say,
need that
big brain, right? It's,
Yeah.
you need that wider.
yeah,
I have a
yeah.
very narrow face, but you
Okay,
need
okay.
something that's wider. No, I agree with you.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
So when
oh, go
sorry, so
ahead. Yeah,
when you went to Car Week, so what really stood out to you? Obviously the
yeah,
Porsches there. Anything else that sort of jumped out at you? Or
Well, I thought I have to think about what, other than the traffic and how busy it was.
yeah,
Um, no, I guess it kind of goes back to my Porsche. I'm just a. I guess it's
passion.
in my. I have had BMWs and was an old Saab lover for years,
Mm.
for many years had Saabs, but it just blows my mind how that brand as a brand and the following, it just further reinforced to me that it's just a different, you could never do that with a BMWs. I mean, it's
No,
just,
no.
it's,
Especially not
it was,
after Ryan beat them up in the last episode, which is we're blacklisted
I
at BMW
apologize
now.
now, BMW. You know, it's
I
If you
mean,
haven't heard the
Mercedes
clip,
has a following, but I mean,
yeah.
it's just
Well,
the performance of it's all the way across the breadth of
yeah,
I didn't
the
get it
years.
until I had a 996 years ago, and maybe it was just wrong time, wrong product. I really loved it, but it kind of didn't quite gel with me. Now I've got my new car, but also my 986L Boxster S, and I love
Mm,
driving it still. It's a
yeah,
great car. 6,000 pounds,
no, it's
$7,000,
yeah.
$8,000.
So I have a quick story about a 986. I have a 2001 Boxster S, and I got tired of doing DEs. I'm in the Porsche Club in Minnesota, and we have the Brainerd. Um, it used to be called Donnybrook, but it's the BRE track
yeah,
that has a mile long straight, and then it's got 9 more turns, and then you're back on the mile long straight. And it's a pretty fast track. And I could take my 83 911 SC that, I set it up for the track. It's been lowered. It's been set up really well. But man, I could stick with pretty fast cars in the turns, but boy, they just take off. I just get dusted, on the straight. And I thought, this is no fun. So I bought a '01 Boxster S and then had it built up to a 3.6 and put GT3 control arms in and put the pulley in and the sump for the oil. Got PS9 adjustable shocks, short shift. So the thing is, it took out the convertible, put a hardtop on, and I definitely got a faster. I could stick with these guys a lot better, and that car is unbelievably easy to drive. I don't know if I could take the 911 back and drive it as hard as I used to, because I mean, I forgot how you have to be careful with that car
yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of lifting, and with the Boxster, it's just
Have you
it's
changed
just.
the gear shift mechanism? So
I
the
went to a
99
short shift, yeah.
yeah,
Just
Yeah.
that's it.
GT3 996 GT3 bolts straight in. I think also inlet trumpets bolt straight on. So it's essentially
Probably,
they built it out of, spare
yeah.
parts really. So
I am. I don't. I went and I got the cables, the comp cables that were,
Mm.
they didn't stretch as much. I don't think I got I know it's a short shift, but I don't know if it was a GT3, but
yeah,
uh,
there's two different
yeah,
rows you can
I
buy.
have to look into that. Well, that's something I still have it. Maybe the last thing I need to do is work on that car anymore.
Yeah, I don't know when you have the
So
time, but
no,
guys,
no,
you're
but I mean it's worth far less than the money I put into it now.
right,
So
right, right.
I saw a post on Instagram. It was a guy shouting in his camera saying, "I know I'm not going to get this money back, but I don't care. I want to
yeah,
spend this money and I want to build this car." So
Yeah, we're talking about Porsche, and I just wanted to Google the characteristics of a cult, because it's been said that Porsche is a cult, right? And people like us are, it's acolytes or what have you. So, the first characteristic of a cult is a charismatic leader. And I don't know if you ran into the man, Andy Pruninger, at that Porsche party,
GP, yep.
Jay, but we sure did. Check that
no,
box, right?
I've read
Yeah.
about him quite a bit.
He was
Amazing.
great. He was wonderful.
Yeah.
He spent time with us. Second characteristic, an ideological purity. Okay, I think that qualifies. It goes on, but yeah, I think it's probably safe to say Porsche is a cult, and I'm a member. But
Yeah, well, and we're happy to be.
we're
I mean,
happy.
that's
That's
the
maybe
thing.
that's the difference, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. I wanted to ask you a little bit. You mentioned Car Week and sort of your takeaways and the trends, and Alan mentioned like the wedge cars and how those were a huge hit among most. Not our friend Brett Burke necessarily, but a hit among most. And so there are these trends and these cycles, right? That really thread across cars and fashions and watches. So what are some of the trends in watches that you see coming over the next few years? And I think size is a big one, right? Or a smaller one. We're getting smaller.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of big watches, and you can see that. Like I had, my sons have them now, but 80s and 90s eras Rolex Submariners were
Hmm.
about the same size as the 40 millimeter um, quartz and automatics that I've got, and with Sheffield. And then they went up to a 41, 42 even on the
Yeah.
on the GMT, and then on the
Explorer
sub, and
2, and
then
yeah, that's
yeah, but then Tudor, they started to go back. They have a 39 on the
hmm
Black Bay, and
Black Bay, yeah. Hmm.
yeah, and I think that there's definitely an acceptance now or an interest in smaller watches. I think that what's our British brand? I love it so much. Bremont. They
Oh
have
yeah, yeah,
some. They have some more normal. I call them smaller
yeah,
sizes, but
yeah.
the 38 that I've just come out with is definitely a push. It's not. It's just because it's accurate to the. It was. I couldn't go any smaller than that
Mm,
because actually some of the Sheffields were in that 36
mm,
range, back in the day. But I do think that that's one trend, and I also think that there's an amazing amount of cool dial designs that
hmm.
we've been starting to see. I mean, Oris with color, and of course Rolex with color. But then you saw the multicolor bubble Rolex. Even they've
Yeah,
gotten
yeah.
more irreverent. Um, and I do think that um, that's a trend, and even to the point that I'm trying to think who else I saw that had a really interesting dial. Another brand.
To kind
Oh,
of
there's
go,
a and the other trend is there's just so many micro brands now
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
that
What
are
about the
really good.
movement? Because it's all about quality, isn't it? Like, you're
Hmm.
putting a price point on there. You want to make it affordable, but what does that mean in terms of limiting movements, or
Mm,
how does that
mm.
that world work? I'm new to watches. I was never a watch guy. I wasn't a Porsche guy until I got one. My son and my daughter's boyfriend are big into watches, and they slowly educate me. So, tell me from the
Yeah, I
inner
mean,
workings of, no pun intended, from your world. So,
so the reason why it's really interesting if you buy a Rolex or a Tudor or an Omega, and even now they make, not in the past completely, but typically now they make their own movements, which is really, that's part of the reason why their watches are so strong, because they are, they're committed to those movements, and they last. I mean, they're really strong. But at the same time, there's really good Swiss movements that are used in a number of watches, and I'll get the name wrong, Soletta and ET,
Mm.
and those are they've been in Swiss and German watches and others for years, and they are workhorse movements. But then you go look at the incredible reliability and volume of the movements that are from Miyota and from Seiko in Japan, and the precision within those movements are, and to some degree, the accuracy and reliability are equal or better than some of the Swiss movements. But they don't have the gravitas or the you know the level of, it's not respect because they're respected. It's just that they're just affordable, so they
yeah.
create. Well, that's not as special
Hmm.
as, and that's where I think what's interesting about Seiko, they have um, their higher level price point, and I'm now at Grand
Oh,
Seiko,
Grand Seiko,
and
yeah. It's
those movements are at a those movements are not as available in terms of from a commercial sense for other watch brands to use, but those are incredibly high level. But there are variations of and I'm sure some people will correct me because I'm probably wrong, but I think there's some comparatives to some of the, like I use the NH35 or the NH34. There's the 9000 series from Miyota Automatics too. They're very strong movements, and the GMT movement, the NH34 that I use from Seiko, and that's the same movement that's in your 24-hour watch, Alan, are really reliable. And,
yeah.
So on one hand, you're getting an amazing, reliable watch that is comparative in terms of its accuracy and longevity to any Swiss movement.
I don't mind
But
having a Honda S2000 equivalent on my wrist.
yeah,
Right, right.
yeah,
That's all
yeah.
right.
I
I
mean,
don't.
it's kind of like
Good
that. Yeah,
analogy.
and
Yeah.
so it allows myself and other micro brands to have some really nice watches that you can spend the money on the tooling for the case, like I do, or and the
Yeah.
hands and the dials, and um, at the same time, those movements are validated by Seiko and Casio and Citizen. They're actually using the same movements, and they're very close to the same movements in their production watches. So um, I do think though that I will do a Swiss movement watch.
Mm.
I'm working on one just because I think it would be because of the history of Sheffield. They're at that time in the 60s, they're all Swiss movements, and so I think that I have to do one. Now it won't be at the same. It'll be a value Swiss movement watch, but it won't be as at the same prices that we're at now.
Yeah. One of the things I think is interesting about your watches is there's a big following with like watch photographers, and they will take
Oh
these
yeah,
macro lenses and like zoom in. I mean, so they're not,
yeah,
you're really under the microscope, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
they're
yeah.
finished so beautifully.
It's thank goodness, right?
Yeah. That's,
But these guys, there's some unbelievably talented watch guys out there that
yeah.
shoot. And Ty Alexander shoots all of the watches for me for the website from the first day. He was actually one of the most important validators of what I was trying to do because he saw him first, and I send him a note and I go, I got this new watch venture, but I really want great photos of the watches for the website. And I sent him the first, the diver ones, the quartz watches, the blue dial, the charcoal
Mhm,
dial,
mhm.
and he immediately made them look beautiful. But he also said, these are really nice. And he said, how much are they going to be? And I said, well, $108. And he said, are you kidding? He says he says, no, you should really, no, you shouldn't do that. And I said, no, that's kind of the story. That's kind of that's what they cost. And since then, I have been able to, through the growth of the business, as well as me getting to know other photographers, I've been sending them watches at their. It's up to them, and I say, please, if you'd like, shoot them. If you don't, that's fine. But then they start to send me notes. Hey, I would love
Mm.
to get a watch. Da da da. But there's Rafa. He's his he shoots a lot for Timex, but he's down in Mexico, and he's recently shot the SCR watch that we posted, and I used it on the website too. Um, they're fantastic shots. They're so dramatic. They're beautiful,
Yeah.
and there's a number of other guys. There's Joe Green, who's in the UK, as well as Magnus. I can't think of his last name,
Yeah.
but he's in Ireland, and they've been shooting him. And I got somebody up in Canada and another guy in New Jersey, and so they all have their own take on lighting and such, and that's been like, I mean, one thing I've found, and this is, some people are kind of I wouldn't say, they're very conservative. I am not. I will send watches to people that I think can spread the word, and some of those people are photographers, and some of those people are I've been sending them to more women too, because I think women, there's some really great women that are posting that. That's why the 38s are important, because they fit the wrist, women's wrist better. But a lot of women are wearing much larger watches too. So so it's been really been great that they do put the lens on them, and they look great under the microscope, so to speak.
Just a quick shout out to Spike, though, because that SCR watch, is really a tremendous looking watch.
A good looking watch.
That matte finish. I mean, it just has such wrist presence, I guess the phrase is. I mean, so I don't know how much input he actually had, but it's a fantastic
he had a lot.
watch.
I mean, essentially, he talked about he really liked the Tudor Marine
the French
Nationale.
Navy. Yeah.
And he said, I want to do a watch like that. He says, of course it can't be like that watch, but that's the direction. And he said, I want it to be this matte finish, and this, what are some of the blue options? And so he drove it. I supplied the renderings and the direction and some suggestions on what we can and can't do. And but it's definitely inspired and directed through his vision. So I think that, and the same with the camp watch, the very limited, had the field dial, the black, and he really felt that he wanted a watch for parents and people to give their kids before they went to summer camp.
I love it.
And
but I love that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's he's got a really great kind of thinks about what could be cool and what could be interesting, and but the SCR, the blue, is just fantastic. I mean,
it really is.
It works really well. That matte, it's interesting. It's like a titanium feel finish to it, and when you wear it, you feel like it's got more weight and heft than the same case that's polished and brushed. It's like it's just visually, it really
it's got a visual weight. That's what it is, I think.
We have another one that he and I worked on, that he had a lot of directional stuff on it that we'll be coming out with and later in the year. So
no unfrosted watch, though.
No.
Okay, all right. Just want to be sure.
No.
Honestly,
I mean,
to
probably
listen to
not.
all of your motivation of different products, there's like you keep finding inspiration, so it doesn't feel like there's an end to this good flow of affordable products that you want to buy, that you want to have the collection, keep going back. What's new? Follow when my phone flashes up and says, there's a new post from Sheffield. It's like, oh, what's he launching this week? So
well, make sure you go out and buy that Casio. I got to tell you, that's a great watch.
It's
the digital ones. You can get that online for $25.
No kidding.
You've got to throw that in your briefcase.
Okay,
It's a great watch. But
I love it.
To Alan, to what you said, it's really interesting. I'm very mindful of not overstepping the permission that I already have to do what I'm doing. I don't want to. I'm very, very careful. I just do not want to make a watch that has the same flavor as a Tudor or a Rolex, in terms of the hands I mean, I just can't stand stuff like that. It's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, it has to have some character that
Yeah.
is not, it has to be its own thing. And
Yeah, that's it.
that's why it's great to be able to go back in time, back to the future, I call it, and get inspiration from um, old Sheffields. And it, I mean, it's different than if I was to go back and get inspirations from old Hoyers. It's not, well, that's a
Yeah.
Hoyer. I'm not
Right,
going to do
right,
that, but
right. Yeah.
there's some touches and flair that you can provide that are um, inspired by some of other brands that have done some interesting things. Um,
Well, if you have a
so
if you have a low period and you run out of ideas, I've got a folder full of if you want an automotive engineer's, ideas, pick up the phone.
I appreciate that. Actually,
Have you ever seen a
there
watch
will
with
be
a wing on it? Yeah.
that's right. It'll be the highest downforce watch there is on the market today. So
there will be a time when I run out of ideas, I think.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think so.
um, but no, like I do the GT series, which I love,
Yeah.
which is and those are all solar quartz now. So we've kind of got these different segments. We have the very basic QL1 that's quartz with, um, color and twist, and they're only 5 ATM. You can't really get those wet. Then you go to the next level, which is the Diver One, the original first edition product. That's 2035 Seiko quartz. That's 200 meters water resistance. It's still the most popular watch uh, in terms of the blue dial is really strong. The gray and gray is really strong. Your classic kind of sub looking kind of diver.
Mhm.
And then that's at 100, 118 or so. And then now you go to the GTs, which now you're adding solar quartz, you're adding more detail to the dial. You can have fun with those in terms of relating to racing eras or colors and things like that. And those are about 138, that range, because it's solar. You don't ever have to replace the battery. And then you jump up to the automatics, which are in that 188, 198 range now. That's a Seiko NH35 automatic, and then so we have these progressions, and each of those have their visual cues or size, like the 1A automatic that I just talked about. There's the 38s now, and then there's the unique kind of I did the chrono with the seagull movement, which was really fun, but it's probably never going to happen again, being able to use that movement. They're so restrictive now on the
Mm.
volumes that I'm probably going to go to a Seiko based uh, um, or a Miyota based. It's called a VK64, and it's typically what's used in chronos now, but it's called a hybrid quartz, or what it is. It's got a smooth movement because there's an automatic component built
Oh,
into the quartz,
oh,
so that it doesn't have the tick tick tick. It's more of that smooth automatic movement, but
interesting.
it's
It's like
super
Porsche
reliable.
992.2 where they use their,
Yeah, that's right.
turbo. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a manual line anymore. It's a
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
PDK. So
Yeah.
that
Bring us some
and then
appreciation.
then you go to kind of these not odd, but kind of tangential, the 24-hour watch, and then telling you guys today, first guys to know, we're going to definitely do the GMT. They're going to go up at the end of the month or the 1st of October
Awesome.
on pre-order, and those are going to be really fun.
Awesome.
There's only two of
Amazing.
them.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Roadshow
Yeah,
exclusive. Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, and those will be. I got to tell you, I tried to resist. One of them will have that Pepsi bezel, and I tried to alter it such that it's not. I just go, oh, I don't want to do it. These Pepsi bezel. Everybody's doing these, but you know what?
Yeah.
I did a some posts with them, and overwhelmingly, folks want those.
Yeah.
So I tried to do it a different way with a different kind of dial, so it's kind of its own thing. So I think it's going to look good. And then the other one is more classic, a black bezel with a white dial and the Sheffield green, mint green markers. So it's very pretty actually. And that's coming out. So after that we have a little bit of breathing room until the next SCR comes out, and probably the other chrono.
Okay.
And then we'll start working on the carbon fiber machine from solid, champagne quench, gold leaf, motorsports special. Might be a bit more than $200, but
Yeah. Well, the Swiss watch is going to fit in there somewhere, and it's not that far off of what you're just talking about. So I know I'm going the right way. So,
Jay, do you find time to drive anymore?
It's funny. I don't have a big enough garage in my home, so I have the cars parked down in a storage unit in Camas, about 10 minutes, 15 minutes from here. So it's funny. I've been driving the Boxster quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's so fun. And then but I also have a 944, an 83 944 that I'm just putting new suspension in it, and that's a very fun, slow car.
Oh
it's,
yeah.
It's very fun. And when I'm in California, I have a 968 that I love. That's been fully gone through. It's a tip. It's a 92. It's a Tiptronic, which I bought when I lived in California because of the traffic. I go, I can't stand shifting all the time. And every time I drive it, I go, I wish I had a 6-speed. But then when I get on the 405 and stop and go traffic or at all these stoplights, I go, man, I'm glad I don't have a shift.
Yeah. Well, Jay, I think that's probably a show. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've been incredibly busy traveling the world and everything else, but just so glad to have you on. We just think the world of you and what you've done with Sheffield. It's just, you're the man of the moment.
I am
here,
so excited for you guys, this show with you and Lindsay. And I just think it's really fun. And I'm so glad that you're doing it. And,
Appreciate that, Jay.
I'm glad that...
we're soaking up the craft. Ryan's teaching us his ways. So, the old master.
Oh, I'm still learning myself. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But it's a journey, right?
So thanks for the window into your life and your business and your passion. It definitely shows through. Keep going. We love it.
Yeah.
All right. And I appreciate.
We should tell the listeners where to find you too. I know on Instagram, and you are a great follow. You are Sheffield _allsport_watches. Website is sheffieldwatches.com.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you active on Threads or anything much, or?
No.
You can't do it all.
Where does he find the time?
I just started. I think. I have a Facebook page, but it's not very populated yet. But,
You're too cool for Facebook.
There's more to come, so we're working on it.
Well, follow
Appreciate
Instagram.
it so much.
Yeah. Always a pleasure to talk with you, Jay. And again, follow Instagram. It's Sheffield _allsport_watches. Fantastic follow. Jay, always a pleasure. Appreciate your support. And we're so excited to see, where you take this. And
good luck on the GMT.
And hope.
Well, you guys will see your copies pretty soon.
Awesome.
So, amazing.
Appreciate that more than you know. Thank you, Jay.
Take care.
Hey, can't wait to talk with you again. Until next time, for the Roadshow. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you.